Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of running your own dance classes. So this might look like being a freelance teacher, or maybe having your own studio, or having your own online dance academy, or whatever it is. And this video is for both you and for people curious. Maybe you're working for someone else or a dance school and you're curious about running your own classes. I'm going to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of running your own classes. I've done both. I've worked for other people, and mainly I've run my own classes, and that will probably become clear why I've usually gone back to that option, because it's really been like, I don't know, 90% of the dance teaching that I've done has been my own classes. So pros, let's start with the pros. Pros of running your own dance classes: you get to teach the exact style that you want to and run the classes in a style that works for you. So two styles there. One is the dance style, so whether that's, for example, you're running ballet classes and it's a little bit more Russian style, or maybe you teach a little bit more Balanchine style, or whatever it is, that you get to bring in the really fun elements of the styles that you love, and there will be people who really enjoy learning those intricacies of the style that you love. And then there's also the style of class, so you get to choose how to structure your class, you get to choose how to do the warm-up, how are you going to learn a variation, are you going to do a choreography, are you going to do more exercises, there's like a lot more flexibility when you're running your own dance classes. And maybe you're working for someone where this is also the case, in which case, amazing, awesome. Like maybe you have free reign and quite a lot of freedom in that way. The beautiful thing about this is that you really get to respond to your dance students. So like if you see, for example, in a class that you need to spend much more time on this thing, or that you tried something last week and it worked really well and you want to do it again, you have all of that freedom to really be responsive and adaptive to your students, which is amazing for them and amazing for you. Obviously that's going to be different if you're doing syllabus work, although there are still ways that you can incorporate that kind of freedom into syllabus work as well. Okay, next thing, benefits of running your own dance classes, is that you really get to attract your people. And by your people, I don't mean people that necessarily like have the same personality as you or look like you or the same age as you. It might not be that. What I mean by that is people who are attracted to the way that you actually teach, and the way that you do things, and the type of passion for dance that you have. And it doesn't mean they have to be the same as you. What it means is that you aren't just like in a dance school where you just get given like, here are your students, go and teach them. That is efficient in a business sense, but it's not the most fun, neither for the teacher nor for the students, because there's not like the attraction there of like, we choose this person, if that makes sense, because we love their way of doing it. That's the most fun thing as a dance teacher, is to have people in your class who really appreciate you as a human being, not just like they're here to learn a dance and you happen to be the person that's teaching. So that's something that I really love about running your own dance classes. Next, your holidays. If you are smart as a dance teacher, and well, I don't only mean smart, because actually all dance teachers are smart, at least the ones that I've met, and I've met a lot. Dance teachers tend to be very smart, very hardworking people. So let me rephrase that. If you have learnt to give yourself permission to run your dance classes and your dance business in a way that supports your health and supports your lifestyle, you will have much more flexibility when it comes to things like holidays and timetable and schedule and things like that. So this is a real benefit as long as you learn to use this benefit. And I have to say, I do know quite a few dance teachers who don't do this. And the reason for that is because quite often they've come from like working for someone else and they just recreate the same thing again, but now they're doing it. So the beautiful thing about running your own dance classes is that you get to set up how it works. You get to choose how your holiday is going to work. You get to choose how your timetable is going to be, and that should suit you. And the reason why it should suit you as the dance teacher is that it's also going to be helpful to your students, because they are going to have a dance teacher who is well rested, who feels nourished and energized and taken care of and excited and not burnt out and not tired and not exhausted and not resentful that they're working when their friends are on holiday and they can't go, etc, etc, etc. There's a lot of mindset work around this one, which is stuff that I do within the Aligned Dance Teacher Academy. But once you get on the other side of this, your whole life changes in a very positive way. So that's one of the things that I love personally about running your own dance classes. Next, your vision for dance. Quite often when we're working for another, like a dance school or someone else's, we are bringing to life their vision for dance, and that's a beautiful thing. And I think, you know, in some ways it's nice to start there. Sometimes it's nice to start your teaching career working for someone else, so you can see how it works, so you can see what is it like to bring forth a vision of dance through classes and through that whole thing. But you're usually doing someone else's vision of like what dance can be, the transformational power of dance, the other things that dancing can bring to people's lives. And I'm sure you'll give it your own flavour, and you'll be able to bring in parts of yourself, and that's beautiful. But when you're running your own classes, you have complete free reign of that, and you can really make huge differences to people's lives. And that is very, very special for people who do have like a bigger vision for dance, that's not just showing up, teaching technique and then leaving, but who have this bigger idea of like what dance can actually do for people, not only in the sense of getting better at your level of dancing, but of becoming a dancer and becoming a human being, learning more about themselves through dance. So, and I could talk about this topic for a whole, probably 4 hours. So I'll leave it there, but this idea of being able to bring forth into the world your vision for what dance can be through your own classes is one of the beautiful freedoms of running your own classes and running them how you want to. Next is your care and your ability to create welcoming, safe spaces. You might have this in the dance studio you work for, in which case, awesome. I should just say, by the way, that I actually started out like, well, no, I taught some of my own classes. I'd set up a summer school. I'd done some of my own like freelance dance classes. But when I graduated uni, I actually started teaching for a Latin dance company in the UK. My boss was awesome. She's still my friend to this day. It was so much fun, and I really fully believed in like their vision of dance for the world. So that was kind of seamless and really fun. And like I said, right at the beginning of my career, I actually appreciated that. I appreciated, well, I'm going to come on to the cons, and one of the cons is not having the support structures that you do when you're working for someone else, if you're working for good people. So yeah, where was I going with this? Nothing. I think I just wanted to mention that that was part of my journey as well. So if you are in that position and you're enjoying it, please don't let this video feel like, oh, I should be running my own classes. No, not at all. There is literally no right or wrong. There's just what do you want to be doing in this moment. And I want to encourage dance teachers that like, just because you've made one choice doesn't mean you're chained to that for your entire dance career. Like, you can always make the choice to branch out on your own, or start running a few of your own classes while you're still teaching for a different studio or whatever. Like, there are so many options, and I would love for dance teachers to start to explore some more options, because the more, like, whenever I speak to dance teachers, I'm always like, that's an amazing idea, this is such a fun thing, like, why don't you do it? And then there's all reasons why they don't do it. So that's kind of why I'm making this video, so we can talk about what some of those reasons are and get clear on the pros and cons. So as I said, you can create, when you're running your own classes, you can really create like a safe and caring space for your students. And that's not to say don't take any risks in class. Small and calculated risks are important in the learning process. I want to articulate that now because there is an over-obsession at the moment, I think, with like safety, which means what it's turned out to mean, I'm all for safety, and taking small risks can still be overall safe, but there's more possibility for like mistakes, for learnings, for adapting, for evolution, but it's not safe in the way that I feel like safe has come to me now in the dance world in some places, which is complete order, rigid structure, control. That's not what safety is. Real safety is when your students have the ability to keep themselves safe, and that you're providing a safe environment also, that those two things go together. But if the safety only comes from complete control of the teacher of all the students in the class, and they're not allowed to experiment, they're not allowed to try things, they're not allowed to have any element of play within dance. I mean, dance is originally supposed to be playful. And if that is the way that we're doing safety, and basically the students have no agency within the class, the students have no encouragement, the students only have like control because that's what's going to keep them safe. You might agree with that, and that's fine, you can run your classes like that, but I really believe that the more that we can empower our students, the more that we can help them to take responsibility for their own bodies in the dance class, to understand their own bodies, to understand the limits and the places where they can push a bit more, but giving them that power, that's something that really actually creates safety, and you don't have to be there for that. Like, that student can then go to a different dance class and have that self-awareness and be in a much safer position, or when they go out and dance with their friends, or when they, you know, experiment and do their own choreography or whatever it is. To me, that's safety. Re-empowering the student, not me making extremely rigid rules, structure, order, like a military operation. I understand there is a place for that, and that we do need to provide structure, but it doesn't have to be overbearing. And as someone who is running your own dance classes, you get to be that person that encourages safety in that way. Safety and play, safety and exploration, safety and being allowed to make mistakes and try things, especially in artistry and musicality and things like that. If there's not that type of safety that has structure but also playfulness within it, it's extremely hard for your students to actually get to that place. So care and safety. And what I'll also say on the flip side of this is that you also get to avoid some of the harm that we know is done to dancers in some of the more like rigid and old school ways of teaching dance. And by that I don't mean usually like physical harm, although that sometimes happens too. Injury can happen in any type of class. Like, you cannot fully control the bodies of the people in your class. Again, that's why the more you equip people to understand their own bodies, the better for everyone. But anyway, I mean more the mental and emotional side of dance classes. When you run your own dance classes, you know that those students are being cared for, not only as dancers, but as whole human beings. And this is something that is not even that difficult to do, but it needs a reframe, it needs a reshift, it needs us to become very aware of our own patterns, it needs us to do a little bit of healing within ourselves, it needs us to become aware of what our body language, what our tone of voice, what even our words can be doing to our students. And that is such a beautiful gift that I see a lot of freelance dance teachers giving to their students, because they've come to a place where they really trust themselves and they really care about their students on such a holistic level. This is not about, let me just get this person to a higher dance level in whatever way works best for that one goal. This is about much more taking care of your students as a whole person and helping them to improve as a dancer. So those two things can go together. And you know, if you are within a bigger system and structure that doesn't as much care about the dancers, then even if you do care, which is great, like thank goodness for you being there and that kind of thing, and them having a supportive teacher in all of those ways. But sometimes the environment of it, even just the environment of a dance school, like even just walking in the doors, like sometimes you can feel that energy, and it's different from an environment that you would be able to create as a dance teacher who's working freelance or running your own studio, for example. Okay. Here's another pro of running your own dance classes, which is you teach less hours. And you might be thinking, well, that's not a pro because I love my job so much, I want to be teaching as many hours as possible. But we want that your dance teaching is sustainable, so we don't want to burn out in the first 7 years of teaching dance, or even 5 or even 3. So it's not just about quantity, right? It's also equally about the quality of the classes, and the quality of your classes is going to depend on you as a dance teacher feeling well resourced, well rested, excited to be there, having had time to like mentally prepare for the class, or like do some actual prep of like choreography or whatever. And so it very often happens that the less hours dance teachers teach, the better the class is. And there's obviously a balance where that starts to just get so small that there isn't really a difference in the quality anymore. So for example, there might be a difference between, in the quality of the classes, teaching 30 hours a week and teaching 20 hours a week. Like the 20 hours a week, those classes might be of a really other level in terms of the energy of that class, the support that the students feel in that class, the ability of you to finish at the end of the day and still have energy for your own life and to do things, which I'll come on to in a second. But then if you take it from, let's say, the difference between 15 hours and 5 hours, that might not actually be different. Like that might not actually really affect the quality of the classes. Like if you're teaching 5 hours a week, you might be giving the same quality of classes if you're teaching 15. And that is different for every dance teacher, and it's important that every dance teacher figure that out. And also, let me say that it will be different depending on what stage of your life you're at. Like your capacity to teach at your highest quality dance class level, energy, enthusiasm, etc., will likely be different when you're 25 and when you're 35, and that's also part of the process, and that's also fine. But it is a pro that you will be able to teach less hours and also earn the same amount of money, because obviously when you're teaching for someone else, that other person needs to take a cut of the income that's being generated from your classes. So 2 people have to get paid for the income generated through that classes, whereas when it's just you receive all of that income for your classes. So it is possible to work less hours and earn the same amount or even more teaching less hours if you do it freelance or running your own studio. So that's a pro. Another pro, and this is something that I've put, do you know what, let me do this last because it's a pro and a con. Let me do this one last. Another one. Greater earning capacity, which I just talked about. So you can earn more for less hours. And another good thing about having a higher earning capacity as a freelancer is that when you really learn how to talk about your classes, when your students are really happy with their progress and how they enjoy the classes, you can get more people into your classes and you don't have to add extra hours. When you really are the person who's learned how to run your classes as also the business side. So for example, I know that when you're employed by someone else, doesn't matter how many people are in your class, you're getting paid the same. There's good things to that, right? Which is if only one person comes, you're still getting paid the same. But then sometimes there might be like loads of people in your class and you're still getting paid like the minimum wage or whatever as a dance teacher. So as a dance teacher who is freelance or running your own classes, you have much greater earning potential, because every new person that comes into your class, that's more money for you. And obviously you can do many things with that money. You can create even more amazing experiences for them. You can buy new costumes for them. You can earn more money for yourself, or like keep more money for yourself and get a massage every month, which might really help as a dance teacher. It might mean that whatever, like you have a bigger budget to run an even bigger event, which would be really fun. You can hire a bigger theatre for your end of year show, whatever it is. Having more disposable income means that not only you benefit, but your students benefit as well. That's really important, because I think there's a myth in the dance world that the more money you earn, you're just selfish and greedy. Not at all. The more that you earn, obviously as long as your pricing is ethical, but if it's not ethical, people aren't going to pay it. But the more that you have, the more that you can do, and the more that you can give, and the more resourced you are, and the more creative you will be. Oh my goodness, I could talk about this forever, but let me tell you that dance teachers in survival mode, because they're only barely scraping by, aren't able to act on their amazing ideas, their creativity, all these things, because they're just trying to get through the month. That's not the place that I want dance teachers to be. I would love for dance teachers to feel like they have some savings, that they're safe, that they can take a few risks and try something new and create something amazing. Like, this is the vision of dance that I personally believe in. Okay, now let me do this pro and con, which is more options. As a freelance dance teacher, you can do anything. So there aren't really boundaries around what you can do, what you can create. So for example, in my own journey, I've run workshops, I've run 2-day workshops, I've run 1-day workshops. I've created an adult ballet holiday where I was just like, this would be really fun, and then I just literally created it out of nothing, and invited people to Spain, and then we danced together and we learnt a variation, and we also went for dinner together and we did other things together. There are no limits to what you can create as a freelance dance teacher. And I can think of some of my past clients and other people that I know and I've worked with, creating amazing performance opportunities, or other community gatherings, or a pas de deux class, because that's very rarely offered for adults, or whatever it is. The possibilities are endless, which is a beautiful thing. That's a pro, and at the same time, it can also be a con, because sometimes that can be a little bit overwhelming, and sometimes it can become a bit of a distraction. Our ideas can become a bit of a distraction. And one thing that I really help my dance teachers with as a coach and a mentor is to rein those things in, keep focus, keep clarity, and to actually bring things to life that need to be brought to life in that moment, and put on the shelf the things that can be done later, so that these things become really successful, rather than just trying lots and lots of different things and not really having a focus. So there's pros and cons to having lots of options and possibilities. Here are the cons, but maybe I'm going to phrase this as, what are the pros of being an employed dance teacher by someone else? Let me phrase it like that. I think that's nicer. So the pros of working for someone else are that there's more structure. Okay, you get given your timetable, you come in, you teach, you leave, you're good. Obviously you need to plan your classes, but you don't need to worry about numbers in the classes, you don't need to worry about marketing, you don't need to worry about admin, you don't need to worry about email lists, you don't need to worry about any of those things. So in some ways there's freedom in that, but in other ways there isn't that much freedom, because you must work the hours that you've been given, and you can't choose to be flexible around how you structure your holidays, etc, etc. It's pretty much this is it, just do it. So I know that the business side, so the more organizational side of running your own classes, can be a little bit intimidating for people. But it's so easy to also fall in love with that when you realize that having those skills is what allows you to create what you want to create in the world. it's quite amazing because at this point in my career now, and like as a full-time coach, the freedom that I feel in terms of knowing that I now have learnt the skills, and I'm always improving these, by the way. I've only just gotten to a point where I kind of trust them, and I still need to obviously continue learning and improving, but that I understand how to talk about things in a way that captures people's attention, that I know how to share about the value that I can bring in the things that I do, that I know how to set things up and just get them done. I know how to, like do the admin side. I know how to do the email automation so that I make my own life much easier for myself and it's simpler for the people who are joining me in programs and things like that. Once you've learned all those skills, it becomes fun, and it becomes like a curiosity rather than a burden when you fully see that those skills literally free you to create, like I was going to say magic, but some people hate it when I use that word, but they allow you to create amazing opportunities for people. So these are skills worthwhile having, in my opinion, at some point during your career. And that also doesn't mean that you have to. Like, you could totally work for someone else for your whole dance teaching career. That's absolutely fine if that's what you want to do. And so that's cool. But on the other side, when you have all of those skills and you learn to become more organized in these other ways, and you also understand that as that type of dance teacher, as a freelance dance teacher, you must create time for these other activities, for planning, for prepping, for emailing, for filing your taxes, for etc., for sharing about your offers, for helping people to understand the value, etc. You become so free, and you can be so innovative and so creative and so excited, honestly, for like the future, because also then you're never in a trap. Once you know those skills and those tools, no one can take it away from you. So in some ways, I think at some point, I was going to talk about risk. Let's do that now. So there is greater risk being a freelancer in some ways. So obviously, I think probably everyone can get the gist of what I'm saying here. Like, there is more financial risk because there's not something coming into your bank account every month that's going to be the same amount. There is more risk in terms of, you don't have a fixed term contract, etc. And those are things that we should take into consideration for sure. But what I will say is, with those tools that I just talked about, which I teach in the academy, by the way, you lower the risk substantially and you have greater earning potential. So what this ultimately comes down to is my next point, which is responsibility. It is more responsibility running your own classes. It is more responsibility opening a dance studio or starting an online academy or whatever. Of course, it's more responsibility, but what I know for sure is that people who are dance trained and dance teachers are really responsible people. The question is, do we allow ourselves to hold responsibility in those specific areas? Which we can, by the way, we totally can. But the question is, do we allow ourselves to? Or are we scared of it because we've been told different things, or because it seems like too risky, or because we don't believe that it can be done? So much of the time it's that. It's like we just assume that like people aren't doing it, it can't be done. So why should I try? But it can be done. You can be a dance teacher who has time, who has flexibility, who doesn't have to force themselves to work extra hours. Excuse me. A dance teacher who... I had a drink here, what have I done with it? Probably finished it. Yeah, a dance teacher who has flexibility, time for a social life, energy to devote to their relationship and their family and their friends. A dance teacher who can be creative, a dance teacher who can make a big difference to their students' lives, and a dance teacher that can hold responsibility to actually create their own life and their own lifestyle. And I know that that can sound scary, but it's exactly why I created the Aligned Dance Teacher Academy. Because, you know, dance teachers, myself included, especially when I was younger, we like to believe that we have to do everything on our own, and that things in general, the harder things are, the more worthwhile they are, but that's just not true in so many instances. In some it's true, but in many it's not. And running your own business is not one of those. You should not be wanting it to be any harder than it should be, could be, and it shouldn't be really hard. There will be moments where it's a little bit stressful. There will certainly be moments of uncertainty, and being able to sit with uncertainty is something that we work on in the academy a lot. But really, just being able to hold on through that is where success is on the other side, nearly every single time. And so that's why I created it, because once people understand that they're allowed to receive that support, things can change really quickly in terms of how we see ourselves, how we see our potential, how we understand what we can actually do, what we can actually create, how we can get there much faster in a much smoother way, how we can do this in a way that supports ourselves instead of recreating a dance academy structure that we just wanted to leave because we were tired and we were exhausted. So, where did I go up to? Responsibility. Yes. So, pros of working for someone else, less responsibility. Pros of working for yourself, more responsibility. And with that responsibility, as long as you have the tools to deal with the responsibility, it's an amazing thing, because with great power comes great responsibility, therefore with great responsibility comes great power. And by power I mean the ability to create things in this world that are powerful for other people to experience. Okay. So I already mentioned this, but one of the other things about just working for someone else is that you can just use the tools that you already know and the skills that you've already got, which is teaching great dance classes. Awesome, amazing, done. Draw a line under that. When you become a freelance dance teacher, you're going to need to learn some new skills. And that can be really exciting, as I've just said. Learning new tools and learning new skills and becoming a human being that has access to these different perspectives, different ways of looking, different ways of working, different ways of being is, I mean, these are huge tools. I honestly can tell you that it's also improved like things like my marriage. I know that seems really weird, because it's like, why on earth would becoming a better entrepreneur or a better freelancer make you better in other things? But it does, because these skills and tools are transferable across many domains. Obviously the pros of not needing to do that is that you can just teach your classes and leave. There are pros to that, but if you're teaching so many hours that you're really tired, there wouldn't even be time for you to learn new skills or whatever, right? Because you're just exhausted. So swings and roundabouts, as they say. Okay, and the final one is that this comes back to responsibility actually, but one of the difficult things, so I talked about vision in the pros. The shadow side of the vision is actually holding the vision in difficult moments. So the pro of the vision, like having this bigger vision of dance than just come in, improve your technique, leave, and do the same every week, is that, so the wonderful thing is possibilities, literally changing people's lives through dance, transformations, more confidence, people also like making friends because you create a welcoming environment, etc, etc, etc. All of these amazing things that you can create. The dark side of that, or the con of that, is sometimes holding that can feel heavy as one person. So sometimes it can feel like a little bit lonely, sometimes it can feel a little bit heavy, and it's also normal. Everyone has moments of uncertainty and doubt, everyone. So there are tools that we can learn to, like I said, be in the uncertainty spot until you get to the other side of it and things become clear. There are tools to lessen our self-doubt to a level where we're still careful and conscientious, but we don't end up sabotaging ourselves. Same thing with self-trust, etc. And all of those things are things that we do in the Aligned Dance Teacher Academy. So basically what I've done is I've created this academy to help with all the cons. We also talk about like augmenting a lot of those pros, so we'll go through them and like figure out how to do it in the most precise and effective and efficient way, while still having room for exploration and play, because that's important. But it's mainly to mitigate the cons, so that the learning the extra tools and the organizational stuff doesn't feel overwhelming, that you actually learn the stuff that you need. Because sometimes, at least for me, when I first started, I didn't even know what I needed. You know, it's like you don't know what you don't know. In so many moments, I just thought that being a good dance teacher would be it, and that would be enough. But there were certain tools and things that if I'd have learned them earlier would have made the journey much more fun, and would have allowed my students also to have had more fun, strangely. Like, they still got great dance outcomes, but there were other things I could have done. And I would have been much more successful, much younger. I don't have any regrets, because this has been my journey and I've learned these things now, and as I said, I'm still improving them. But one of the things that really changed my life in this sense, it was doing someone else's, I don't think was it called an academy? I think it was a program. She was a coach, and it was for coaches and teachers and facilitators. And there I learned these skills, and this was 3 years ago now. There I learned those skills, and I've been practicing them and honing them, and it takes time. And then I also have like worked with one-on-one coaches, I've done other workshops, etc. But mainly I've also been putting these all into practice in my own life, testing them out, seeing what works for me, what doesn't work for me, but holding on to all of the options so that I can give these to other people who want to learn them and want to be supported and want to hold this bigger vision for dance, actually make it happen, actually help people transform their lives, or find their own self-confidence, or explore, or connect to their creative side, or feel in community with other people, or whatever it is. To hold that and simultaneously be held in the Aligned Dance Teacher Academy, because as you are bringing a vision like that to life, it helps so much to have someone holding you. Like, I realize when I look back, it's so funny, when I look back in different like moments up until today, I realize that the best work that I did was when I was supported. So it was when I was in a program, or it was when I had my one-to-one coach, which was for 6 months last year, or it was when I had my virtual assistant, or now I've gotten to the point where in many moments I can actually support myself, because I know what that feels like now, and I know how to do it. And because I've implemented many of the harder things, like I know what my vision is, I have it pretty clear, obviously it still evolves, I have it pretty clear, I trust myself more, there's much less self-doubt, even though it's still there obviously in moments, and that's fine. But I don't actually always need to have someone there to support me. I also know how to now ask for help when I need it. I know how to let Jordan know when I need a bit of support instead of just struggling through by myself. All of these things. So that's not to say that you have to have it, you don't. But it certainly helps, at least I think for me. And I'm someone who really is like very independent. I will do a lot of research, I will do a lot of learning on my own, and that's amazing, and you can learn a lot on your own. But then there needs to come a time where you're implementing, where you're experimenting, where you have feedback. So what I mean by that is, there's one thing learning strategies and stuff off YouTube. You can try them out, you can try and test them. But when you actually have someone who's knowledgeable about these things, in this case, that could be me, and you're telling me stuff and you're getting feedback, that doesn't happen in a YouTube video. Like, the person you're watching the interview with can't turn around to you and say like, oh, like this could be a really good idea, try it like this, how about this, give you an idea, and then be like, oh, but you see that thing that you said, did you think about this? No, you didn't. Well, what about when that happens? How are you going to deal with this? What are you going to put in place for this? That's what I can do in the Aligned Dance Teacher Academy. So it's a 6-month program. We have 3 sessions per month. One of those is a group coaching session, and then 2 of those are like strategy, embodiment, mindset sessions, business sessions, and it's one of my favourite things that I did last year. The dance teachers who are inside the academy loved it. I'm seeing them thrive and flourish this year, which is so exciting, and I am opening doors for enrolment now. We're starting next month, mid-March. So if you're interested in learning more, I will have the Aligned Dance Teacher Academy page linked here. Or if you prefer to talk to me, which I quite often just prefer to like talk to real people instead of reading through a whole webpage. But if that's your thing, if you like reading, go for it. Just message me and we can set up a time to chat. I can answer any questions. You can ask me any questions, with obviously absolutely no pressure to join. Like, I would never want someone to join out of pressure. Like, I want you to join because you're like, I'm ready, I see how this is going to benefit me, and I want to invest in myself. That's it. There's no other reason that I would want anyone to be in the academy. And also the academy isn't for every type of dance teacher. It's for the dance teachers who, if you've listened to this whole thing today and you get it and you're like, yes, I have a bigger vision for dance. Yes, I see that I have some magic to create in the world and I haven't done it yet. Yes, I see that things can be done in a way that allows me to feel supported in my actual life, to have my mental and my physical health taken care of, to have financial safety, to have time to spend with people I love and other things that I like to do. You deserve that, and it's for you. It is for you. Okay guys, that's it for today. I will be back with another video very soon. Hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye everyone.